Hey, chocolate wasn't always the sweet, everyday treat that we know today. Once upon a time, it was a rare and exotic drink reserved for kings and queens, hidden away in the courts of Spain. When European explorers first brought it back from the New World, no one could have predicted how it would take over the entire continent. So how did this bitter beverage become a beloved indulgence across Europe? When cacao first arrived in Europe, it didn't immediately spark the kind of excitement that you might expect from such a beloved treat today. In 1502, Christopher Columbus brought back cacao beans to Spain after one of his famous voyages. But there wasn't quite as much enthusiasm for it as you would expect. Most people didn't know what to do with these bitter beans, and the unfamiliar taste didn't really appeal to European palates at first. Chocolate, in its original form, wasn't the sweet indulgence that we know today. It was bitter and served as a drink, a far cry from the sugar-laden treats that we're used to. The real turning point was when Hernán Cortés, after his conquest of the Aztec Empire, realized the value of cacao. He had witnessed the Aztec elites drinking their cacao as part of their daily rituals. He saw an opportunity. Instead of serving it as the Aztecs did, Cortés made a significant change. He added sugar. By sweetening the drink, he adapted chocolate to fit European tastes. This simple addition transformed the drink into something much more palatable, especially for the Spanish court. And soon, chocolate gained a reputation as a luxurious and exotic beverage. Spanish King Charles IV believed that it had medicinal and even aphrodisiac qualities. But despite its newfound appeal, chocolate wasn't something that just anyone could enjoy. For nearly a century, Spain kept the secret of chocolate making under tight control. The process of preparing chocolate was closely guarded, making it an exclusive treat for the Spanish aristocracy. The secrecy, combined with the high cost of importing cacao beans from the Americas, meant that chocolate remained a luxury item only that the wealthiest could afford. After Spain kept the secret of chocolate under wraps for nearly a century, it was only a matter of time before word began to spread. One of the first big breaks came when Italian travelers sampled chocolate in Spain and then brought it back home with them. By the early 1600s, chocolate had found its way into Italy, and soon enough, chocolate shops started popping up in cities like Florence and Venice. These establishments became popular gathering spots for the elite, who delighted in sipping the sweetened drink that had originated from the far-off Americas. The spread of chocolate through Europe was also helped along by royal marriages. Anne of Austria, the daughter of the Spanish king, married Louis XIII of France in 1615. Part of her dowry included chocolate, which quickly caught on at the French court. It was a similar story a generation later with another Spanish princess, Maria Theresa, when she married Louis XIV, with chocolate making its way into France through these royal connections. The drink soon became all the rage among French aristocrats. By the middle of the 1600s, a full-blown chocolate mania had gripped French society. It was no longer just a drink, but it had become a symbol of status, wealth, and indulgence. From France and Italy, chocolate's popularity spread across Europe. By the 1640s, it was introduced to Germany, and not long after, it made its way to England. In London, chocolate shops opened up, offering drinking chocolate mixed with warm milk, a precursor to the hot chocolate that we love and enjoy today. These shops became fashionable spots for the upper class to socialize and enjoy the exotic new beverage. As chocolate grew more popular, advancements in production techniques helped make it more accessible. In England during the 18th century, chocolatiers began developing mechanical methods to process and grind cacao beans more effectively. This marked a significant turning point in the history of chocolate. Suddenly, it wasn't just a luxury for the elite, but it had become more affordable and available to a broader audience. Chocolate's journey in Europe reached a key turning point when it finally became accessible to everyone, not just for the elite. For much of its early history, chocolate had been a luxury product, primarily enjoyed by royalty and the upper classes. However, a series of pivotal innovations and cultural shifts dramatically changed the way that chocolate was consumed and who could afford it. This transformation occurred largely during the 17th and 18th centuries, marking a major chapter in the history of this beloved treat. One of the most significant moments in chocolate's evolution was the development of mechanical innovations in England. During the early 18th century, chocolatiers began introducing new methods to process and grind cacao beans, which made chocolate production much more efficient and less labor-intensive. Before these innovations, the process of making chocolate was incredibly time-consuming. Grinding cacao beans by hand was tedious and required a lot of manual effort. However, with the introduction of mechanized grinding techniques, chocolate could be produced on a larger scale and at a lower cost. This reduction in production costs meant that chocolate was no longer an exclusive luxury item reserved for the wealthiest members of society. Instead, it began to find its way into the homes of everyday people. Another key moment in chocolate's story occurred in London during the 1650s when warm milk was added to the traditional chocolate drink. Up until this point, chocolate had typically been served as a bitter, water-based drink, similar to the way that the Aztecs consumed it. However, by mixing the chocolate with warm milk, the drink became smoother, richer, and far more palatable to a wider audience. This version of drinking chocolate was more familiar to European tastes and became an early precursor to the hot chocolate that we know today. The popularity of this new form of chocolate drink quickly spread across London's chocolate houses, which were fashionable meeting places for the city's elite. These chocolate houses became the place to be, where patrons could enjoy a sweet, indulgent drink while discussing politics, business, and society. The introduction of warm milk to chocolate helped broaden its appeal beyond the elite and made it a more versatile and enjoyable drink for the masses. Meanwhile, across the English Channel, Switzerland was making its mark on the chocolate industry. By the late 18th century, Switzerland had become known for its high-quality chocolate production, establishing itself as a major player in the European chocolate scene. Swiss chocolatiers developed new techniques for producing smoother, creamier chocolate, which set the standard for chocolate production throughout Europe. One of the key innovations was the process of conching, which involves heating and mixing the chocolate for hours to create a velvety texture and rich flavor. This innovation greatly improved the overall quality of chocolate and made it even more desirable. The Swiss chocolate industry wasn't just focused on making the product more luxurious, but it played a key role in making chocolate more accessible. By refining production methods and ensuring consistency and quality, Swiss chocolatiers helped solidify chocolate's place in European culture. Chocolate was no longer viewed solely as a luxury for the wealthy, as it had become a staple treat that was enjoyed by people from all walks of life. Swiss chocolate, with its smooth texture and rich flavor, became a symbol of excellence and quality. And to this day, Switzerland remains famous for its high-quality chocolate products. By the late 18th century, chocolate's status had completely shifted. It was no longer an exclusive indulgence enjoyed only by the aristocracy. Thanks to the mechanical innovations in England and the rise of the Swiss chocolate industry, chocolate had become more affordable, more accessible, and more popular than ever before. Its transition from a bitter drink of the Aztec elites to a sweet treat enjoyed by the European masses, it marked a significant turning point in its history. Chocolate had truly conquered Europe. The cultural impact of chocolate's newfound accessibility cannot be overstated. Chocolate went from being a symbol of status and wealth to a common indulgence that anyone could enjoy. In many ways, this shift in chocolate status reflected broader societal changes occurring in Europe at the time. The Industrial Revolution, which was beginning to take hold, was making many items that were previously luxurious much more affordable and accessible to the general public. Chocolate was one of the first products to benefit from this industrialization, and its rise in popularity mirrored the growth of consumer culture in Europe. By the time the 19th century rolled around, chocolate had become a beloved staple of European life. It wasn't just consumed in chocolate houses or royal courts anymore, it was found in homes, cafes, and shops all across the continent. Chocolate had become a symbol of comfort, indulgence, and pleasure, accessible to people of all social classes. Whether it was enjoyed as a warm drink on a cold day or as a sweet treat after a meal, chocolate had solidified its place in European culture. So, what are your thoughts on this? We'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below.